or good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and we review incidents in pop culture just to see how that incident affects our daily lives. Today, we are about to review Queens, Season 1, Episode 6, entitled Behind the Throne. This is going to be different from my normal watch-along review recap. I am just going to recap the show, and I'm just going to go by each woman. All right. Overall, the show was decent. They had a theme of I think it was VH1 Behind the Music, like documentary. For those of you all who don't know, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a show called VH1 Behind the Music. It was infamous for the show with the group called TLC, where they broke down how you can make millions and millions of dollars as a group and be broke. I think that behind the scenes, behind the music episode is one of those episodes that a lot of artists, particularly rap artists, independent artists and things like that, it sprung a lot of those off because they started to realize that the machine and the business of music is brutal, and there are a lot of middlemen making money off of your talent, more money off of your talent than you are. So it was very, very insightful, that episode. So, but this is what this episode feel was giving me. They were followed by a camera crew to document their rise again in the music entertainment business. So we want to start off with Brianna. Now, as we left last episode, she got her Professor Sex persona on, and some young rapper guy was hitting on her, and she decided to take him back to the hotel. Not realizing that these young rappers do things for clout, and they use relationships to help further their career. It is something that I've noticed. There's a lot of, I think we used to call it back in the day, industry relationships. But nowadays, I don't know what they call it, clout relationships. I don't know exactly what the terminology is. And most of these relationships are with rappers. They're with women who are high profile. And from what my understanding is that they usually pay these women to be in a relationship or do a contractual agreement to be in a, air quotes, I'm putting up air quotes, relationship with these men for a certain period of time to boost their clout, to boost their social media imprint, and all these little different things, because nowadays those things can correlate into more money, more endorsements, and all of that kind of stuff. So without her not, being out of the game so long and not knowing all of this, she does this, and then what happens is he goes onto a radio show, and he basically outs and says that he's had sex with Professor Sex, and everybody on the internet knows, and that means her children knows, particularly her oldest son, who is upset with his mom for that because, their father has recently died. So she is having to deal with that and deal with that teenage angst about it. So because she's now a single parent and they have to operate as a single parent, she hasn't gotten into the groove of that yet. I don't know who her community is right now, but I hope she calls on them. But she hasn't gotten into the groove of being a single parent yet. So what's happening is, where her husband was working and she was able to take care of their 5 kids, now it's just her. She's having a difficult time juggling her work, which is being one of the members of Queens, and her children's lives. So there's times when she needs a babysitter and she can't get a babysitter. And I think what happened is once people found out that she had a one night stand with, I think his name was Fiverr. I'm not sure, remembering what his name was. Once she had that one night stand with her, she had people who were being resources with her pull out. So she was left without a babysitter. So she had to take her children with her to video shoots and things like that. And the twins are running amok. Just in and out the video shoot, just in and out getting snacks, just doing a whole lot of. And she left them under the care of her 15-year-old son, and he is just not even paying any attention to them. And then she tries to get him to pay attention, and then he goes back into, well, Mom, you had sex with one of my icons, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But she ended up, having to relate to him, say, look, this is going to be our new normal. I've got to work. There's no longer dad here to work where I can spend 100% of my time taking care of y'all. Now, you're going to have to pick up some slack. You're not the man of the house, but you're going to have to, if I ask you to do something, I'm going to need for you to do it. So they had that heart to heart. So then we go to Valeria. At the last episode, Valeria had a stalker, and she was all excited about her stalker. And then it comes to find out that her stalker is her long-lost mother who gave her up when she was a baby. Well, Valeria seems to just lean into this. For someone who is very wary of people, and I did say that she is empathic with people, so she just continued. She leaned into this woman being her mother. I don't know if they've taken a DNA test. I don't know what it is, but she has leaned into this woman being her mom, and she has allowed her to stay with her. I think she gives her comfort. I think this woman gives Valeria some sort of comfort, or some nostalgic for the past, or just the I don't want to call it delusion. There's another word for it. Fantasy of having a mother. To kind of take that slack, take that burden when you need somebody to talk to, that your mother is there. She's leaning into that. Subsequently, she, the girls are telling her, hey, just be careful. Make sure that, she's here for good intentions, because, the only thing that people want to come back for, your family members, when they're long lost, is money. So Valeria cuts this woman, and I don't remember what this woman's name is. It'll come to me. Y'all know it always does. She cuts this woman who claims to be her mother a check. The woman tears up the check saying she just wants to know her daughter. So that gives Valeria comfort. She ends up buying this woman a real pretty diamond necklace, choker kind of necklace. What happened too, just to kind of tie in her story, you remember I told you there was a crew, a behind the scenes crew that was working. So to tie up Valeria's story, the camera crew that was working with them caught Valeria's mother taking pictures of her credit card. And they have informed Valeria of this. So at this point, Valeria has not confronted her mother about that. Then we go to Naomi. Naomi is just having a good time this episode. They're shooting a music video for their new song, and she has caught the eye of the director, to the chagrin of Eric. He don't want her, but he don't seem like he don't want nobody else to have her too. And so the director is just fawning over Naomi. He's making sure that she gets her, explaining to her that the camera loves her and that she doesn't need to fade into the back. She needs to come towards the front. And all of this stuff, and Eric seems to be very upset with this. I don't know what's going on, why he's so upset with this, but Eric seems to be very, very upset with this. So, so much so that, he's trying to throw a little shade back and forth towards the director or not. So I don't know what's going to come of this. Like I said, the director is quite enamored with Naomi. So that was basically her storyline. So now we come to Jill the Thrill, honey. Jill, once again, as you found last episode, that reporter girl that Jill has been hanging with has really been hyping her head up and everything like that. So what has happened was, again, the behind the scenes crew has been there to tape the women and all of their stuff. And so Jill happened to come out of a building, and she was bombarded by reporters. And they asked her a question, about how she feel about the lockdown. She basically said, jokingly in a manner, wow, if I'd known that I would get this kind of attention, I would have come out earlier. It's just a ha-ha, hee-hee joke. But, what happened? Everybody took that to be so serious, and they canceled her. And what happened is that on their new single, they were able to get some very famous rapper from England to jump on the track. They lost that endorsement. Everybody was pulling out. They had a lot of different things that they had in the fireworks they had to pull out. So Jill had to do damage control. She had, and she was trying to interact with trolls. And Lil Muffin told her, you can't, what? Was it Lil Muffin? No, it was Valeria, excuse me. Valeria was explaining to her that you can't win with trolls. And you can go back and forth. They're just set there to make your life miserable. Jill ends up calling Tina to come in to help her do an interview to kind of save her cancel. But Tina does that. But Tina thinks that Jill is trying to start a relationship with her. And Jill gets real ugly with her. She's talking about, no, I just needed you to help me through this thing. I don't want to start a relationship. So Tina was like, okay, I see how it is. You just wanted to use me. And Jill, feels a little bad, but then she doesn't. So finally, we get to Lil Muffin. Now, you remember I told you that when I was talking about Jill's story, that they had a famous rapper from London to jump on their new single, to do a rap verse on their new single. What happened is that Lil Muffin was on the track first. And then they decided to kick Lil Muffin off because they thought that the other girl's track meshed better with what they were talking about. So they had to tell Lil Muffin, and Lil Muffin got upset. And, she's like, I put y'all on and then y'all take me off this stuff. That's how people do you and everything like that. Now, mind you, from last episode, Lil Muffin has had a series of problems because she's not as popular as she was before. And that's what happens when your musical talent is based on a shtick. It's a little, you have this whole, persona of Lil Muffin, and Lil Muffin's persona only translates for 2 or 3 years. After that, it doesn't translate, particularly if you're older. So if you are 25 years old when you get your record deal, and you act like Little Muffin, who is technically acting like a young 20-year-old, anywhere from 20 to 23. Here you are at 27, 28, about to go into your 30s, and you still have this Little Muffin persona. That doesn't match who you are inside as a 27-year-old woman. But record labels don't want to hear that. They want you to be Lil Muffin until you die. Basically like a Little Richard persona. But Little Richard, that was his name, but it wasn't indicative of who he was. I hope that makes sense. He was allowed to mature, but as rappers, and particularly now when industries and, like I said, a whole bunch of middlemen get into this business and they want to make money off of you. They want to make as much money as they can at that time. So they don't really care about your artistic desires and your need to mature. This is why you see a lot of rappers these days because, and now this is just my personal opinion, but I believe back in the, when the NWAs came out, all of a sudden rap was supposed to be a young man's game, and if you were over a certain age, then you couldn't be a rapper, or that was the culture that was put forth. And so now what has happened is you have a lot of rappers that take on these personas and these I I'm not telling you that they're not rapping and they don't have skills, but it's like it's make believe. It's like you pretend their persona is not real. They're, they'll talk about shooting guns and having all this money and all this other stuff, but that doesn't match their real life. So it's fake. It seems fake to me. They're not talking about, with the NWAs, that was their, that was most of the people in that group, that was their real life. So now rappers seem to be emulating that, I'm out here on the street, I'm bad and stuff like this. And I think this is why you have a lot of people, a lot of these young people being shot and killed and things like that, because people their persona is not matching who they are as an individual. So, but we can do something like that, this in pop culture chat. Anyways, so she goes to the label, Little Muffin goes to the label to try to have, to change her persona. She doesn't want to do any more records as Little Muffin. She wants to do records as Lauren. And the label is pretty much like, okay. And the lady was like, well, I have to run this up the chain. I already knew right then she wasn't going to run nothing up the chain. They were just going to get rid of Little Muffin. They probably have somebody else in line that they can work with that's cheaper. And they can, that's cheaper in the sense that they don't have to pay this person as much, and then they'll be able to make more money versus Lauren. So, Little Muffin. So what happens is that the label voids her contract. And here's that thing, again, I think anybody going into the music business, y'all need to go back on YouTube and find that behind the music scene with Left Eye and TLC. What happened is that this girl is living in this fancy house, this big house, with her leeching friends. She's living in this fancy house, this big old house with her leeching friends, and she doesn't own the house. The label owns the house. And she owes because she's not going to do this next album, because they've canceled her, she owes them $750,000. So technically, Little Muffin is broke because she doesn't have that in viable assets or cash. So she's been living off credit cards, doing all kinds of stuff like that. She doesn't have the money to do. So, and this is that thing when you don't understand your contract, when you don't understand the music business, and you don't understand the money that you make, where that money goes. So she's sitting here now. She does not have a career. She doesn't have a label behind her. And she's homeless. All of that with someone voiding your contract. But she spent, if you remember the last episode, she spent $250,000 to have a unicorn implanted into her head. A diamond-crusted horn implanted in her head. So it ends up that Eric tells Lil Muffin that he has squared the money away with the label. So he has used some of his money to pay the label back. So she doesn't owe the label anymore. So she's technically an independent artist, but she's still homeless. And so he invites her to stay with him until they can find her a place that she can stay. So that was basically the episode. Tell me what you thought. It was okay. I'm looking forward to the next episode. I think these episodes are probably going to get a little slower. The music is still good, and I found that you can download that music on Apple and I think Spotify. Anyway, please give me a like, comment down below, and I will see you in the next Queen's Review video. Bye-bye.